When you think about the DOS era of PC gaming, you will probably notice how there really aren't too many great platformers. But there's one whose name all DOS platformer lovers should at least be familiar with. Jackrabbit was created by Epic Megagames, yes, that Epic, and was one of their first giant hits. It followed on the heels of the success of their Jill of the Jungle game, which came before. But Jazz ended up becoming a bit of an icon for PC platformer fans in 1994. The game bears more than a passing resemblance to Sonic the Hedgehog, but in my view that rather adds than retracts from the charm. Your goal in the game is to defeat the evil turtle army of Devin Sheldon and traverse through colorful stages collecting weapons and navigating confusing levels. Jazz has a great cartoony look and one of the most pumping soundtracks of the Twilight DOS years. It has some really solid gameplay, including a few interesting elements like a bird who helps you out and shields to protect you from enemies. Each of the game's 6 main chapters are expansive and unique. The game has a robust energy that is really lacking from many other DOS platformers. It's also very forgiving, with very few things in the game killing you instantly, though you can also set the difficulty. In all, Jazz is an addicting game and has the speed and button mashing fun you expect from console platformers. Now, like I said, some of the challenge does come from navigating the levels, but I'd say Jazz rarely delves into becoming tedious. Of course, a few of the levels are a little unremarkable, but that's to be expected. The gameplay also does have some shortcomings, like not being able to shoot above you. I also have to say that your collection of weapons kinda lacks variety, with the fireball weapon being easily the one to use, though luckily a few of the stages require you to use specific weapons to blow away obstacles and such. And the airboarding's pretty cool. And yes, the boss fights are kinda easy, as you oftentimes just need to hang back and fire from a distance. Jazz really came out at the exact right time, which is why it became so hugely popular, thanks to VGA graphics with a 256 color scheme being available, processor speeds having doubled or even quadrupled since the start of the 1990s, and MIDI-supported sound cards being a thing. Jazz was able to have presentation unequaled by most of its peers. I mean, you look at the lower or even the middle-ranked titles from this era, from Apogee and others, you'll always notice a lack of colors or sound, or even in worst cases, actual lack of game speed, never mind any kind of fluidity. Jazz was such a huge success that 2 level packs were created for it, and the game would even get reissued on CD-ROM. However, the sequel would not come out until 1998. You know what other game Epic came out with that same year? The very first Unreal. So in a sense, it probably surprises no one that Jazz 2 actually turned into a massive bomb, despite the heavy amount of marketing. The game had failed to reach 30,000 units in sales by 2001, 3 years after its launch. If Jazz 1's timing had been exceptionally good, Jazz 2 basically came out at the worst possible time as a 2D platformer. We were deep into the Windows 95 era with Windows 98, the most recent version, and Unreal was following on the heels of Duke 3D and Quake, making FPSs the genre of choice on PCs. Now, Jazz 2 is a fun game as well. In fact, the Secret Files version even added a 3rd character in addition to Jazz and his brother Spaz. But it's also a deeply flawed game, my biggest gripe being the complete lack of challenge. In fact, the thing that trips me up the most are the controls, which are slightly different from the first game. Now, it does have better boss fights and better weapon variety, but I think the soundtrack is lacking. In fact, my favorite tracks are all recycled of older Jazz tunes in the flashback episode. Jazz 2 would not be the end of the series, as Epic tried desperately to milk out one more game by hiring Jaleco to make a tangentially connected 3rd game for the Game Boy Advance. I haven't played it, but it's pretty obvious this title didn't do much to revive the series. And also, it has one of my least favorite game boxes of all time. I hate you, you stupid badly drawn rabbit. But Jazz 1 is still a solid good time. And you might even remember it making my top 10 90s PC games list. So, if you're looking for some good platforming fun, Jazz is your man. Jackrabbit. I'm TheHande. See you on the next one.